working on the snout part of the nose for the cat. We're gonna use our black yarn, or our base color yarn, our 5mm hook, and we're gonna start out by chaining 9. We're gonna work in the 3rd chain from the hook, so 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna do an extended half double crochet, followed by a half double crochet, 3 single crochets, another half double crochet, and then we're going to be working around the end chain. So we're going to do 3 extended half double crochets. And with this 3rd one, we're going to be working in the opposite side of that chain. And then again, working down the back side of the chain, we're going to half double crochet, 3 single crochets, half double crochet, and then we're going to put 2 extended half double crochets into that first chain that we were working in. And then we're going to slip stitch into the top of our first half double crochet. So we have our 2 chains that we skipped, and then the top of our half double crochet, we're going to slip stitch into that. And we pull our slip stitches tight so they do not look like stitches anymore. We're going to chain 2. We're going to put 2 extended half double crochets into that first stitch. We're not turning, we're just doing continuous rounds, just with slip stitching and joining at the end of each of the rounds. And then you could follow each of the steps in the pattern, noting that when it has a 2 in front of the noted stitch, it is an increase stitch. And when we make it back to our beginning, we want to make sure that we don't slip stitch into the chains. We want to slip stitch into the top of our first stitch when we join. Round 3 is just single crochets all the way around, so you can make sure that you have 18 stitches here. Then we're going to slip stitch to join. Round 4, we start off with our increase. And then just following the directions. Slip stitching to join. For round 5, we're working front loops only. So working the front loops only will give us a little bit of a ridge, so we are able to easily tack our nose onto our base. So chain 1, so we have our front loops and our back loops, and we're only working the front loops and single crocheting all the way around. Then we're going to slip stitch to join, and we're going to leave ourselves a long tail for sewing the snout part of our nose onto the base of our plant holder. then it kind of has an interesting look to it so far, but we are gonna make it look more like a nose here in just a minute. For the tip of the nose, we're gonna use a different color and one hook size down, so I have a 4mm hook. We're gonna start by chaining 3. And we're going to work in the back bumps. So we have our front loops here, and on the back we have 1 loop, which is a little bump, and that's our back bump. And we're going to single crochet into each of those back bumps. We're going to chain 1, we're going to turn, we're going to single crochet these 2 stitches together for 1 single crochet. We're going to turn our work again. We're going to create a peacock stitch by chaining 2 and then working into that first chain. We're just going to slip stitch, and this creates the point to our triangle. We're going to slip stitch into the sidebars of the last 2 single crochets, chain 2, slip stitch into the first chain, create another point, slip stitch 2 across, chain 2, slip stitch into that first chain to create a point, slip stitch into the sidebars of the 2 rows we created, and then slip stitch into that first chain of round 3. We're going to leave ourselves a little bit of a tail to sew our nose on. So you should end up with a triangle. We're then going to take our tapestry needle and we're going to sew our triangle onto our snout part of our nose. So we're going to take and we're going to find a good place for our nose to be. The bottom of your triangle kind of is about the mid-range of your row 1, which will fall between your 2 hills into the middle of the valley. So first stitch through the top point to the middle of the valley of the nose. And then however you are comfortable sewing on your nose. And then you're going to want to tie to secure so your nose doesn't fall off. Now you have something that looks like that. And then we're going to sew this part on to our base. And you can take and just kind of smush your nose flat. So if it's puffed out like this, you get an elongated snout. If you open up the back and you flatten out the nose towards your fingers, your front loop only row should have a little bit of a ridge in it, so you kind of fold that under, and you take your 2 little cheeks and you can kind of pull them out towards the ends, and that will smush it so it is flat. So we have our base of our planter and our smushed nose. And we're going to sew it between about rows 20 and 27. So we're going to line it up and that last row that we did back loops only, we're going to be going through the middle of these stitches, not just the very tops. And by going through the middle, it will give that flattened look as well. So we're going to place it, line it up so your eyes and your nose are about even, straight, wherever you would like them to be. So if it was not flattened, you would get a look more like this. Give you more of a puppy dog nose. But by taking that back loop, front loop only stitch and folding it against that and smushing it down, get more of kitty cat jowls.